What is up, guys? Welcome to our channel. In this episode, we're going to be talking about anything to do with stress, anxiety, and overcoming adversity. I met with Alex last week and we actually had a really good chat around success, mental health, finding purpose. We produced a lot of content from that video and got a lot of really good feedback from some of our followers. So we're back with another one. We actually plan on doing a weekly episode for you guys. In the coming weeks, please feel free to engage. But yeah, stay tuned for this episode and let us know what you think. So, Alex, tell me a little bit about the forms of stress, anxiety, and adversity that we would be facing as teenagers or young adults.
100%. Look, I think most of us, especially in this day and age, we think of stress as always to do with the mind. But there's a lot of different stresses. There's actually 6 types of stresses. So besides the mental stress, you also have stresses like weather stress. So like the way it affects the body, whether it's too hot, too cold. We have nutritional stress, whether we're not eating enough food or eating too much food. We have movement stress. You know, when we go to the gym and we work out, that's another stress. So every time most people speak about stress, they're always coming from the mental side of things, being that clutter in the mind. But there's other stresses that we need to engage in as well. And you know, stress is at the hierarchy of everything, especially with my background. I'm constantly working in the health realm, but you know, it's not just about body, it's not just about nutrition. The first thing I cover is stress, because even if their diet is perfect and their workout is perfect, if they're constantly in a state of stress, whether it be their mind or whether it be through their nutrition, if they're constantly under stress, they're not going to get the results they want, and they're not going to be living up to their best values or their best standards or their best energy. So it's very important to harness in and really, you know, smash that stress out of the way.
And if it's not dealt with accordingly, obviously it does really hold you back from
100%.
everyday life and achieving your goals. You would have seen me this morning. I had some stuff on my mind, right? Do we consciously know that we're stressed, or can we be stressed without actually knowing?
100,000%. I think we're now in a state where we don't even know when we're stressed. It's only when something severely happens that we identify that we're stressed. But I think we're always, like most of us, are constantly under stress, but it's become our new normality.
Yeah.
It's like where we first started, if something happened, it brought our stress from maybe 1 to a 5 to a 10. Whereas now we're constantly operating at a 7 or 8. So we don't realize we're stressed till something at a 10 happens, that we realize that we're potentially stressed.
It's kind of like when things bottle up and it gets to the brim of that bottle and then it just bursts.
It's like a closet door. We're constantly stuffing things in there, and then we go to open it and it just explodes.
It hits you all at once.
100%.
I find that really interesting. So what are some ways then to overcome or to, I guess, harness and manage that level of stress? How do we beat it? How do we, I guess, take control of it and get rid of it?
Look, I was having this conversation with a client this morning. There's no one single way to overcome stress or to battle stress. You know, you've got to find what works for you. You know, something for someone else might be meditating. Some other people might, you know, go to their religious side of things. Someone else might go for a walk. Everybody's got their thing that might bring them back to being present and not look into the future. You know, stress isn't something that's happening to us right now. We normally stress over things that are going to happen in the future.
The unknown.
Stress is a future state. You know, I talk about if you look to the future, you're going to have stress. If you look to the past, you're going to experience guilt. And to be present is to be in the now. That is to take away all stress. You can't be stressed if you're in the moment.
Yeah. So what's the difference between stress and anxiety? How are they different? Are they different?
100% they're different. Like stress is the cause, but anxiety is the feeling that happens from stress. So when you're feeling stressed, then you're going to elevate and increase the anxiety symptoms. Yeah, so that's the response to feeling stress. You feel and experience anxiety, and anxiety is feeling that worriness about the future, being out of control, not being able to control your destiny, your future, not sure what's going to happen. And I talk to people about the difference between faith and certainty. And I think the people that have more anxiety and the people that are experiencing more anxiety are people that don't have faith because they can't see the unknown. So for example, I'll go with my shirt because this we could say is blue or black. This is grey, yeah? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you certain?
Yeah, it's not white.
Why are you certain? Because you can see it, yeah?
Yeah,
you can see that this is grey.
Yeah.
So you're sure, you're certain that it's grey, you're here, you can see it. But if I said to you that you're going to become whatever you want to become, let's just say you want to be the next Gary Vee. Are you certain of that?
No,
Why?
because I doubt my own abilities.
But you're also not certain because you can't see it. It
Exactly.
hasn't happened before.
Yeah.
It's not as simple as seeing it right now
Yeah.
in the flesh right here.
Yeah.
So you need to have something in disguise of that. You need to have something in place of that, which is what? Faith.
Gotcha.
And a lot of people that experience anxiety or stress is because they don't have faith in their abilities, faith in their capabilities, faith that it is going to happen,
Gotcha.
faith that the future is going to represent itself in the way that they want it to.
So one of the, I guess, solutions to overcoming stress, anxiety, all of the above is having faith in knowing you'll get through it.
Having faith in whatever brings you the feeling of faith. It could be in religion. If to you is submissive to the religion because you believe the religion and you having faith in something that you're going to be answered because you're so good at displaying faith, then do that.
Yeah.
If it's just having faith in the universe, having faith in karma, having faith in the law of attraction, it's having some sort of faith in yourself, whatever it is. Faith is the ability that you think that whatever it is that you want to happen is going to happen without seeing it's going to happen.
Gotcha.
Whereas certainty is things that you can see, or taste, or touch.
Yeah.
Like if I drink that now, I'm certain it's coffee because I know it's coffee because I've tasted it.
Gotcha.
But what can you do with things that you can't see, touch, feel, taste?
So for the people that don't have any spiritual connection, that don't have any religious affiliation, what are some things then that they could do? If there's no faith, is it that's it? Where do we despair or do we have some hope?
Of course we have hope. We've got to fake it till we make it type thing. Constantly restate the story that you want to live. Like if you want to be something specific, you've got to be that person before you become that person.
Like self-affirmations type things, like talking to yourself?
Self-affirmations, but you've got to believe the affirmation. So a lot of people, it's like positive thinking doesn't work. Tony Robbins talks about if you go to the garden and you look in the garden and there's weeds and you say there's no weeds, there's still fucking weeds in the garden. And if you come back in 2 weeks, there's no garden left because the weeds ate the garden. So have realistic thinking. Like go to the garden, there's weeds. But if I take one weed at a time, eventually there'll be no weeds.
Exactly.
So in terms of developing your faith or your certainty or whatever word you want to use, one step at a time. Maybe it starts with one affirmation. Maybe it starts with changing your wallpaper on your phone, your password on your phone, your password on your computer, getting mirror markers and writing what you want, revisiting your goals. The more you do that, eventually it's just going to become so hardwired in your brain that you have no choice but to believe that this is your new reality.
I've got a question, right? Because I know that not harnessing and challenging the anxiety that you're dealt with or feeling leads to certain consequences. I'm familiar with one of them, which is depression, right? Anxiety does lead to depression if it's not harnessed. Now, depression is a whole different topic. I don't want to dive into that just yet. How do you, I guess, prevent that from happening?
Prevent going down the cycle of depression?
Down that cycle of depression.
Look, that's a massive question. There's a lot of different avenues and things we can explore. But I think for me, coming from family with depression and knowing certain individuals that do suffer from depression, I think it's normally linked to a couple of things. One is boredom. Boredom is the most negative feeling you can experience in this world. People think it's like sadness and stuff. Boredom is very, very dangerous. Boredom leads to habits that are not necessarily good for you because you're seeking thrill. All right. So if you're bored, you're normally going to seek something that's the opposite. So it might be alcohol because that was boredom. It might be playing video games and creating a false identity, a false reality in a world that doesn't exist. It's temporary. It might be turning to drugs because it's exciting and makes you feel alive. So normally when you're bored, you turn to things that are instant gratification, things that exhilarate you. And another thing that I think is missing from people that go down that avenue is faith, again, whether it's in a religious purpose or it's in anything, in the universe or whatever, law of attraction, whatever it is, just having faith in something and also believing in consequences. I think a lot of people that go through things don't believe that there's consequences for their actions and they also don't want to take responsibility for their life. They almost defaulted to the world, like I'll blame everything else and I won't take action and I won't take charge of my own life. What do you think? What do you think is maybe the downfall towards this?
Well, for me it's tricky because this probably going back about a year ago, I posted in this Facebook group where there's a heap of VCE students, it's like a discussion space, where they share ideas and resources. And I remember posting in that group and saying, hey guys, like, this is who I am, this is what I do, just trying to help people, right? And I offered to help them with resumes, cover letters, general advice.
Yeah.
If you need someone to talk to,
That's awesome. Yeah.
Right? I just wanted to put myself out there, and in a world where volunteering is in high demand. I just wanted to be of service. And I remember posting in that group and sharing, I guess, what I have, my knowledge and my skills with people. 16 or 17 people got back to me, and maybe 10 of them were asking me what they can do about how they feel with their depression, and do I have any solutions or anything that I can tell them that might enlighten them or give them some hope. So the reason I was asking you is, what would you tell someone? Like, I don't know what I would tell someone that's suffering from depression, in how to, like, I'm not qualified or knowledgeable enough in that area to give that kind of advice. All I did really was just assure them that, it's going to be okay, and I'm here if you need me. Like, what else could I do? What would you do in that?
Well, again, there's a magnitude of answers. Obviously, if they're going through some real difficulties, then obviously it's out of our expertise. We'd probably send them to somewhere where they can get that help. But if it's just someone who's going through a depressive state, like, a lot of people, when you speak to them and you're having this conversation, they say, I am depressed. They're saying, I am depressed. Like, do you know how powerful that language is? They're identifying themselves, the person, the soul that they are, as depressed.
Rather than just feeling.
And I say to them, you're not depressed. And I say, whatever their name is, you're Jack.
Yeah.
You're not, I am depressed, I am Jack. You're not depressed, you're just going through a depressive state.
Yeah.
What is depression? Depression is a downward set of emotions.
Yeah.
When you say something is depressed, it means down.
Yeah.
And Eshen, or emotion, is a feeling of emotions. It doesn't mean it's your forever state, it's just the current state.
It's currently, yeah.
So if someone's going through depression, they have to realize that doesn't mean it's going to be forever this way.
Yeah.
It's okay to go through depressive states. I feel like the world we're in, and I think social media has a big reasoning behind this, is we think everything has to be a highlight reel. That every day has to be fantastic. Every day has to be amazing. Every day we're reaching our goals. Every day we're grinding and hustling, and it's a perfect day.
And it's okay to have a day where it doesn't go well.
It's more than okay. I think we should have more bad days, because it's in them days, in them times that we're tested and we experience growth and we challenge ourselves and we become better.
Yeah.
If you didn't make mistakes ever, nothing would ever change, because there would be no reason to change.
Yeah.
My whole life is a testament to that. I haven't had a life where everything went my way. And the reason I am where I am today is because I've learned from my mistakes, learned from the people around me and their mistakes, and said, hey, I don't want to go down this path. Yeah. I'm not happy with certain things that I do, display, or am. And I want to change that. Yeah. But it wouldn't happen if I didn't experience them depressive states. I think going through depression is a great thing, because it allows you to come back better. Yeah. It's not about the set down, it's about the comeback. It's about, it's not about the setback.
There was this really awesome saying that I heard one of these speakers, he said, depression and setbacks is kind of just like a slingshot. It pulls you back in order to send you forward.
That's awesome.
It's one of those really like cliche type things that people love posting on Facebook. The real message behind it is powerful. The fact that, if you were to stay in that state of happiness and contentment, you wouldn't be driven to be doing more. 100%. And being pulled back was giving you that initiative and that reasoning to actually do more and be more. And I'm a big believer in, purpose and passion, and that we're here for a reason and that we need to live up to that, And so I guess I acknowledge my setbacks. I acknowledge my depressive states when I go through them, because it happens, it's natural. We're not going to be happy 24 hours a day, or 7 days a week.
Correct. Right? What's your advice for them people that they want to follow their passion, they want to live a life of purpose, but maybe they've got a pretty good job, they've got maybe a wife and a child or a couple kids, and they're not living their personal, their passion right now, but they want to, but they don't know how to?
I'm 26 years old. I'm still in that position.
And what are you doing to...
I'm staying patient.
Yeah, I think that's a huge one.
I'm staying patient. And I learnt this from Gary Vee, right? We talk about having an ultimate goal and be patient in achieving that, but be persistent in your micro goals. The small things add up to big things.
The 1%ers.
Right? And if you look at the concept of a ladder, right? a ladder has, what do you call those things, like the bridges, right?
Yeah,
okay,
handles, yeah.
The handles. There are handles on that ladder that are missing in your life, and they're not meant to be there just yet because you're not ready for them,
Wow,
right? And so if you are just patient but also persistent, you will be climbing in that ladder and achieving what you want to do when you're ready for it. So I'm 26, I've been chasing this since I was 18. At 18 I made a decision. I'm changing my life, I'm going to be different. I'm going to make my parents proud, I'm going to prove everyone else wrong, and I'm going to live my life to the best of my ability. But I knew that come tomorrow, I'm going to be in the same position, hopeful, but in 5 years, in 10 years, whatever time frame, however long it takes me, whenever it's my time, I'm going to shine.
How do you not lose, I guess, the momentum along the way of patience? Because if you're constantly doing the work, but you're not seeing the results that you thought would come from the hard work you're doing, how do you not lose yourself and say, you know what, I'm throwing it in. I'm not. It's not worth it. It's not going to happen.
I volunteered my time in a lot of countries abroad. In Morocco, I worked with some kids that told me that everything they learned from me that day when I spoke at that school had changed their life. And I did nothing but fly to another country to explore the world and share my message with people, right? And if I hadn't done that because of fear or the fear of regret, and I guess maybe the anxiety that I might get from being away from my family and the discomfort of being away from home, if I hadn't gone through that, they wouldn't have heard that message. And that is selfish of me not to share that with them. It is selfish of me not to voice my opinion based on my knowledge and my experience. And so that's what pushes me through when I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to have that handle on that ladder we were talking about, whether I'm going to be able to reach that. And then I think about all of the people that benefit from what I share and have changed their lives because of my personal experiences. And I just tell myself that if I don't just be patient and wait, then more people will miss out. And that burns me more, is knowing that I'm not living up to my duty. I believe every human has a duty, a responsibility to share their passion and their purpose and what they believe in with the world, because it's us that live in this world. We make this world spin, man.
100%.
Everything that we do is, people that run businesses. Just imagine if Mark Zuckerberg didn't come up with the idea of Facebook, we would still probably be disconnected, right? We wouldn't be able to speak to family overseas.
Yeah.
If whoever invented Skype didn't have that, I guess, momentum to go through all the adversity, everyone's faced adversity, man. If they didn't actually push through and make that happen, we would miss out on so much. Definitely. Whoever invented cars, like, imagine you get to drive your car to the next city, right? Or whoever invented planes, you get to get on a plane and go see your family you haven't seen in 20 years, right? Because someone pushed through adversity to overcome those challenges they faced. And so whatever your challenges you're facing, if you don't overcome them, right, someone else will miss out on what you're going to produce.
I think that's a good point. I think that can help a lot of people when they're about to face their fears or anxiety, that it's a good leverage for them, that don't do it for themselves. Like don't be selfish and not do it because of the rest of mankind that's going to suffer because of your decisions.
We spoke about this last night over coffee, mate, and I told you that every single person that left a positive influence in this world, past and present, have faced adversity. Every single person has faced adversity.
What would you say to someone that hasn't faced adversity? Like, let's paint a picture of someone that's lived a pretty good life up until now, cruisy life.
Do what I did.
School went well, parents went well, no bad situations, never lost anyone.
Do what I did.
Which was?
Sell everything and go overseas. I'm serious.
Why?
Sell every possession you have, right? Because unless you're going to use it to do good, what do you have it for? For yourself? That's a bit selfish. And this is my personal opinion, by the way, right? But this was my mindset when I went and traveled overseas.
Explain it.
So I was comfortable. I had a degree, I had a car, I had a really good job. I was comfortable. I had money in the bank. I would wake up every morning.
Why risk that?
Because what am I living for?
What are you living for?
To serve, to share my service, to share my passion and my experience with people, to change someone's life. That's what I live for.
But what if someone doesn't know that is their passion, their purpose?
They will hear you speak and realise, like that kid in Morocco that came to me, you've only known me for an hour, right? But you changed my life. That kid, I guarantee you, after that talk,
he's doing something.
He's doing something, man. And it's something that's going to make him happy. And there's a lot of people that are just waking up every day and they don't know why. And I'm just instilling that why, or planting the seed to make you think about it.
So should some of these people be like looking at podcasts, looking at attending events to try and...
Only if you want to, man. If you're happy and you're content with having everything and doing nothing for the world, man, chill, go to work, do what you want.
That's okay.
But if
There's nothing wrong with that.
If you're like me and you're like you and you have this
drive
and this sort of, I want to do something, I want to help someone, sell everything you've got, go overseas, because those things are material, you can buy them when you come back. You are knowledgeable enough to go and get a job. You can get a 9-to-5 job, you can make $20 an hour, and in a couple of months you'll have enough money to go and buy those things again. That was my mentality. I sold my car, I sold my computers, I sold all my electronics, I had really expensive Dre beats. Got rid of them, man. My pride and joy, I love them. But I got rid of them and I said, this is the first step I'm going to take to identifying who I am, and what I believe in, and how I'm going to serve the world, in whatever way that is. I still don't know, I can't put my finger on it, but here I am doing a podcast episode with Alex Dimos, right? And the only reason I'm doing it is to benefit people.
How old were you when you decided to pack up and just leave your life behind?
21.
21. What do you reckon, how old are you now?
26.
What was the growth like from 21 to 26 versus 0 to 21?
Go look at me at 21, working in a club, thinking about myself only, right? I was friends with every single person, whether they benefit me in my life or not. And I had habits that I don't ever want to tell you about, right? Personal habits.
Yeah.
And you look at me now, disciplined. I'm not tooting my own horn, I'm just...
No,
we're talking about the transition and the growth.
We're talking about the transition.
Disciplined, well-educated, I'd say,
yeah,
right?
Definitely.
Completed 2 degrees. I'd say I'm well-educated. Driven, ambitious, and selfless. 5 things that I would never say I had 5 years ago.
And you really say that that's all from that shift in just going overseas and just trying something new?
It's not flicking a switch. It's kind of like pulling a lever really slow. It's not that easy. It's not like turning on the light and bang, the change happened. It was a long, painful process, but it's benefited me in the long run.
I agree there. Like with personal training and training clients, I think people and their expectations, they think change is going to happen immediately.
Yeah.
And it can for some people and for certain things, but change as a whole, especially if you've been living a certain way for X amount of years, change is a slow process and it's not a fun process. Change is not sexy. Success isn't sexy. Growth isn't sexy. Any of this stuff isn't sexy. Like people just see all the stuff they want to see, but it's like the iceberg. They don't see all the work that's happened underneath the water.
I want to hit you with a question, Alex, and I want you to answer it as honestly as you can.
Got me worried, yeah?
without dragging this on for too long. Let's keep it short, sharp, all right? What is the most difficult situation or the worst possible thing that's caused adversity in your life that you've overcome?
Wow. For me, there's been many. I think one of the toughest for sure would be losing my cousin to suicide. I think losing anybody is tough, but suicide, especially someone suffering with mental health and then it got to a point where they, have to be in so much pain that they can't be here anymore, was very, very difficult and something very hard that I had to overcome. I think one of the hardest things why it was so hard was no one in our family had ever been hit by something like that, and looking to people that I would look to support me and for me to turn to were actually crushed themselves. So in that moment, I had a decision. It was either to crumble or to lead my family, and I took that decision.
Run me through that thought process. Why?
I just felt like I was equipped. I know I might have been younger than everyone. I just felt like I was equipped to step up.
Your self-awareness played a big part in that.
Yeah, my self-awareness played a big part, and I was ready to step up. And I felt like I could step up, and I felt like I needed to for my family. I remember the day of the funeral. I had to do a speech to honour his life, and I remember the microphone, like the crowd's here, but the microphone was set up for me to face that way, so it was easier for me to speak.
So you had your back turned to them?
I had my side turned to him, and the whole church was filled.
Yeah.
It was like 1,000 people, and I remember I had the microphone. I was shaking, and I was looking that way, and I started the speech, and halfway through, I'm like, no, man, I got to face everyone. I got to address everyone. And I turned and I just looked, and I look at my auntie, the mother of my cousin, and she's bawling her eyes out. I look to her left, her husband. look to the right, my grandmother, my grandfather, my dad, and they're all just weeping. And I'm like, man, I got to be strong for them.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like it was my responsibility, even though I was the youngest in the family. I just felt like I needed to do this for everyone. So I held my tears back. I delivered the speech.
Incredible.
And, you know, from that moment, it was a big turning point for me, because I realized under so much adversity that I could still overcome it, that I could still find strength in a place where there shouldn't be any strength.
Yeah.
And that, I don't know, for some reason that everything was still going to be okay. There was a horrendous moment, but everything would still be okay. We're going to get through it, and we're going to work it out.
And that's that faith that you were talking about. What did you have faith in?
I just had faith. Like, I haven't grown up with the most religious background. In saying that, I still believe in something. And I never knew what it was. And as I keep going through this journey, I'm starting to really dig deep. But I think at that moment, I just had to, for my own sanity, believe that he was in a better place.
Yeah.
It didn't make sense to me that someone of his degree going through so much pain, like this guy's, you know, was in so much pain on this earth. It made no sense that for him that there was going to be less pain somewhere else. So for me, I had to believe that he was in a better place, because he was in so much pain here. There's no way he can go somewhere else and be in more pain.
Exactly.
So yeah, I just had to believe and have faith that he was in God's hands in a better place.
Yeah. And that pushed you through.
100%.
Amazing.
100%.
I went through something not as severe, and I guess emotionally tragic as that. My dad was sick. This is before I made that decision. This is the reason I made that decision to go, nah, I need to change everything.
There's always a reason.
And then, well, this was the core root reason as to why I said, nah, I have to change. So my parents, we used to do like yearly trips and go overseas and see our grandparents. And this one year, I was in the final year of school, and I couldn't go. So I chose to stay in Australia and tough it out, right? As a 17-year-old kid, to give up a free holiday, it's a big deal. But I put school first. And that year, my dad, we got a phone call from my mum saying Dad's in hospital.
Oh, wow.
So we're not, because we used to speak daily. I was 17, so Mum would check in every day.
Yeah.
I was living at home by myself, me and my brother, my younger brother, mind you. And so they called to check in and just make sure everything's okay. And then they told us, look, we're not going to be able to check in the next couple of days. Dad's in hospital. Something's happened. We won't tell you what just yet, but don't worry, everything's fine.
Yeah.
So me, like, if my mum says don't worry, everything's fine, I just take her word for it. I've learned not to now. So everything wasn't fine. Dad was diagnosed with a brain tumor.
Oh, wow.
Almost lost his life.
Wow.
Needed to get operated on immediately, but chose not to do the operation in Macedonia for logical reasons. But he wasn't allowed to fly home because the brain tumor, it had expanded due to the pressure, the air pressure, due to the altitude. And so if he was to fly again, it would have burst. So they had to wait for it to decrease, and then they were able to fly home. And as soon as they got home, he went straight to the emergency room, and now that's probably 2 weeks after
Finding out.
So I'm at home alone for 2 weeks, and that was probably the longest 2 weeks of my life. What was like, I want you to imagine your parents are going overseas, you got the house to yourself. What do you think's going through your brain?
You want to have some fun.
We're gonna have a party, you know what I mean? But for that 2 weeks, I was just like, I don't want to be here. Do I go there? Do I wait for them? Like,
what's going to happen?
What if he doesn't come back? I need to see my dad. Like, so that for me was probably the most severe form of, I guess, anxiety /
stress. Because it's the future again.
Led to depression because Dad didn't come home okay. He had to be admitted to hospital. We didn't have private health insurance. He had to go through the public system and pay.
Yeah.
And then we were like, no, we need to pay for this operation. So we had to cough out money. It was money we didn't have. I had some savings from work, but gave everything, you know, and going through that was probably the most severe. But from that day, I said, I've never come that close to ever losing anyone in my life at that point. And I said to myself, if I lose my dad, like, what's he gonna leave this world remembering me for? And I don't know why I thought that. It was a weird question.
Did you kind of realize too that how temporary life is?
Yeah, and that's when I started asking questions, Alex, about, all right, where are we going? What's next? You know, this is where my spirituality started to sort of develop, because I had big questions and I started just researching. But that question was, what do I have to show for his life? Like, I had to honor him because he gave life to me and he raised me and looked after me, and I felt like I was in debt.
I like that one.
Right? And I just feel like every one of us owe our parents, you know, if not for raised, like some people are not raised by their parents, but they gave life to you, you know, and you at least owe them that. So for me, it was like, I feel in debt, and what have I done for my dad? I was a bit of a troublemaker at 17, man, I'll be honest. And I kind of just decided, all right, I'm going to be the first I had to break the cycle.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about breaking the cycle in some of my other videos. And that was
what cycle are you talking about specifically?
Dropouts in my family, the cultural norm of just doing what you're told and following your leader, you know?
Yeah. Not actually doing what you want,
not
doing what's expected of you.
Don't veer off the path that the family's on because, like, don't be different, you know?
Yeah.
Don't be unique. So for me to go through that was quite challenging. But here I am today, you know.
What would you say to someone that's in a family situation where they want to do something different but they feel they can't because of their family construct?
Mate, there are so many kids out there. I speak to these kids in schools, and I'm doing a survey at the moment that's trying to address this. I'm gathering some statistics to actually show for it. I've spoken to so many kids that talk about, you know, I want to do this, but my parents want me to do this, and I'm not happy, but I don't want to let them down. And every single kid that I've surveyed so far, majority have said, I'm not sure what I would do if my parents wanted me to change that. Mm-hmm. And then the rest are saying, no, I'll do what I want. But if you look at the reality, what they say and what is actually happening is very different, right? So there are a lot of kids that are not being supported by their parents based on what they want to do, because the cultural norm says you've got to be a doctor or a lawyer or something of status, because what are you going to show for it, you know?
Yeah.
What I would say to any kid that is experiencing that, like I experienced that. My dad wanted me to be like some big time, you know,
doctor or lawyer.
Well, you know, not doctor, lawyer. It was more like, well, I'll be honest. My dad initially wanted me to do something big for our family is graduate from high school, go get a full-time job. That's big for us, right? So that was his initial, I guess, dream for me. Go do this. That was his expectation. And then when I exceeded that expectation, it was kind of like, all right, slow down, come back, where are you going? Don't do that.
Don't go too far.
Now you're doing too much. You're leaving the country, you're traveling, you're writing a book, like settle down. And then he said this one word, what do you think you're going to be? Famous. Right? And for your dad to say this, and it's not about fame, he said, well, then you don't really understand me, who I am, right? You don't know what I'm doing this for. So for me, it was just, I had to explain to him that, you know, I have a certain purpose and a passion that I believe I'm here for, and I'm trying to fulfill that. So
you had to be somewhat selfish, but you're being selfish to be selfless, yeah?
You're being selfish to be selfless, man. I really like that you said that way, because that is exactly what it is. You're putting yourself first in order to provide to others that service that you can provide. And so with my dad, it was a conversation that was like, look, I don't know what you're expecting of me. This is who I am. This is what I want to do, and don't try and stop me. But not everyone can have that conversation. So what I would suggest to some of these kids that are going through this is to, I guess, if you do it for them, you're only going to prove to them that you weren't made for this, right? So avoid all of that, follow what you actually want to do, and prove to them what you're passionate about, even if you're earning less money. I moved out of home at 19 because my parents and we didn't agree on what I wanted to do. If that's what it takes, I'm not saying go move out of home and do what I did, but I'm saying that if you really believe that's what you want to do and you're 100% certain that that's the path you want to follow, then you might have to do some crazy shit like that.
100%. I think the quickest way to live an unhappy life is to live someone else's life.
And the quickest way to get to the next level is to cut all the baggage that's holding you down.
100%. I think more of us have to cut the baggage. I think so many people are like, oh, but they're my family.
Yeah.
Family at what cost, yeah? If it's costing you, you know, you got to put yourself first, as bad as that sounds, because you've only got your life, you only have one life in this actual world, so you need to make the most of that while you are here. Right, well, what I want to get into now is, how do you feel, because I know you've got a little bit of a religious background, you know, you've gone through, I guess, a bit more understanding about religion and stuff like that, more than I have. How do you feel religion can help with, I guess, depressive states or going through that dark side and maybe potentially, you know, stopping you from going too far or potentially bringing you back into a good place? Did it help you? Have you gone through anything like that?
So, for me, it actually started off with spirituality. I wouldn't classify it as religion Religion, personally, this is my own opinion, and I want to highlight that because people get a bit touchy when it comes to the concept of religion and different religions and beliefs. I started researching the concept of success. I wanted to get out of that negative mindset, right? And while studying the concept of success, a lot of successful people talk about staying grounded through forms of meditation, spirituality, and others explicitly say it's religion. Their belief in God and their desire to worship God and serve God helps them.
And being connected to something bigger than themselves, yeah?
Well, being connected to a higher power and making sense of, this world that we live in, right? Because then we get under the topic of evolution and is it natural and did it really happen from a big bang?
Yes.
Right, so...
And no one really is ever going to know the answer to this.
It's a deep
yes,
topic. It's a topic for people with understanding, right? I personally don't want to get into the whole debate of what's right and what's wrong. I'll just tell you what worked for me.
Yeah, I want to know what you did to help with your life specifically.
I actually stumbled across religion accidentally. Right, as bad as that sounds, I stumbled across it accidentally. I was looking for success concepts of overcoming depression, anxiety, right? And I came across a podcast where they were interviewing this guy, and he spoke about how every morning he wakes up at 3 a.m. Now, this guy that was interviewing these people would ask them the same questions. And when you ask 10 people the same questions, you expect to get 10 different answers, right?
But they all said something similar.
Some form of meditation, spirituality, something that grounded them. It might not be, I wake up and I pray to God. It could be as simple as I wake up and I sit in silence and I think.
Or what I'm grateful for.
Count my blessings. People write them down, right? So for me, I come from a religious family. My parents, around the time where I was in my darkest phase, the hardest days of my life, my parents became religious around then. I didn't get onto that.
You didn't follow suit?
I didn't follow suit, mate. No, I was too focused on just living in the now and not really focusing on questioning what's next and who we are. And they're big questions for a young kid, right? So I remember listening to this podcast, and everything in my life at that point was slowly turning around. And I'm like, why do these people stay grounded like this, right? Why do they get up and pray to a God? Or why do they get up and meditate? What benefit does it have? And if you look at, there's a study that they did, Lewis House shared this, and he interviewed some people, and there was a study that shows that most people that are grounded and happy in life and content have some form of meditation and spirituality. So my brother was waking up at 5 a.m. every morning, and he would get up and pray. So I was getting up at 5:30 to go to work, and I thought, if all I need to do is wake up 30 minutes early and I can do what these successful people are doing to just stay grounded, and that'll change my day, I'm down, man. Let's try it.
So initially it wasn't even about being religious, it was about how do I get to the next step?
I wanted to stay grounded.
To be better. You wanted to be better.
I wanted to enhance my performance, man, on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. And then I thought, let me try this prayer thing that my brother does, and I got up in the morning, 5 a.m. My brother taught me because my brother said we're Muslim, and there's a certain ritual that we do where we wash, and he showed me how to do that, and I just stood with him and we prayed.
What was like your first experience? What was that like?
Mind-blowing, man, because I'll tell you what happened. So the morning prayer is apparently the hardest prayer for Muslims to attend, because you have to get out of the comfort of your bed in the early hours of the morning.
Cold,
It's cold, you have to wash yourself, man. I don't want to do that. So it's the hardest prayer, so I thought, that's the one I'm going to tackle. Right? Mentally, I'm just like, I want to do...
You're like, mate, throw yourself in the deep end.
Just give me what you got,
Yeah.
And so I did that, bang, get up, 5 o'clock in the morning, washing up, I'm standing in prayer, pitch black night, no one is awake. You could hear the silence. There's no cars outside beeping their horns. There's nothing.
It's just
TV's
you,
not on.
the thoughts.
It's you in dead silence, man. It's you and the Creator.
Yeah.
Right? And you stand there, and so Muslims, they pray in Arabic, and I don't know Arabic, I still don't know much, trying to learn, it's difficult. But when I stood there and the prayer is recited in a melodious way, my brother's got a really nice voice, right, mashallah, I don't know, it just hooked me. And then we finished the prayer, and my brother just sat there, and so I'm following everything he's doing, and he's just sitting there in silence, and I looked at him like, what do we do now? He goes, just count your blessings. And that thought, I was like, I've never done this before. Count my blessings. What does that even mean? And then, you know, people, us humans, we take so much for granted. Our eyes, the fact that we can breathe. If you've ever been sick, Alex, and you have a blocked nose, the things you would do to have an unblocked nose, right?
I know.
Just the fact that you can breathe, that you can eat your food and it digests properly, and you can go to the toilet and it's normal.
Then we've got running water, that we have a toilet.
Some people have bowel diseases, they can't go to the toilet properly, right? Some people suffer from diseases that, you know, limit their just daily activities. I can't walk, I can't see, I can't hear. And just the fact that you can do all of the above, and you woke up this morning to say thank you, kept me grounded, man. I went to work that day, I felt like $1 million. The way I was interacting with people, the way I was talking, the way I felt about myself. I was on the train smiling at random people. You know why? Because I was happy. I was grateful.
Pass that over.
If you can smile, bro, you share that smile. You know what I mean? If it makes someone's day, just the fact that you can do that is a blessing. So I was like, all right, you know, and it changed the whole course of my life. And that's it, you know, every step from there, I tried to wake up every morning and pray, and it wasn't because Muslims pray 5 times a day. That was hard for me at the start.
Yeah.
It was really difficult because you're changing the course of your day. But I would wake up every morning and I would pray the hardest one, which is the morning prayer, and I felt good, man. And then it became from, all right, just pray the morning one to pray the morning and the night one. After a long day, I want to, you know, people say, I want to unwind, right? Or unwind. They sit down, have a glass of wine and watch TV, right? For me, it was go wash up, have a shower, go stand on that prayer mat and say thank you for such a beautiful day. You didn't die today. You made some money today. Your bank account is a little bit, you know, richer today. And you expect to wake up tomorrow, so you go to bed thankful. And that, you know, that for me was, it changed the course of my life. And so the morning and the night prayers were then being prayed. And then Ramadan started, 30 days of fasting. I set a challenge, I'm going to pray 5 times a day. And it happened.
It's amazing.
And then I thought this is like a trial period, 30-day trial, right? And by the end of these 30 days, if I don't like it, I'm just going to stop. But you try praying 5 times a day for 30 days and tell me if you can stop. It changes your life. You wouldn't want to stop. I didn't want to stop. And then just the way I interact with people, the way that I interact with people at work, my family. I never got along with my family from 19 to 22, dude. We never got along. I moved out of home.
Yeah.
We were fighting. I didn't know how to address them. When I was angry, you know I'm angry. There was no reason for me to suppress that anger. Whereas the religion teaches you to. You know, so
teaches you to have them difficult conversations.
The concepts of it were just, they aligned with my beliefs. Yeah. And I believed in what it was teaching and I followed, man. It's not for everybody. Like,
sorry, there was something interesting you said after you finished the first prayer, and you said your brother was just sitting there and you said, what do we do next? I feel like I do this with my partner. We're eating breakfast and I'll say, what are we doing for lunch? We're eating lunch, what are we doing for dinner? What are we doing after we eat? Yeah. I'm always wanting to know what we do next. It's like, we all struggle these days to just be.
Yeah.
We can't understand the concept of just being present. I really feel that we struggle with that the most.
Yeah.
And I think it's the thing we take most for granted. Yeah. And it's not until something bad happens, like getting sick or losing someone, that we realize that all the shit that we're looking forward to doing actually doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And it's like,
spot on, man.
How can I think we need to be less reactive and do it and be like
more proactive.
Yeah, more proactive. Yeah. Try to feel them feelings without actually having to wait for it to happen. Be grateful now, not when something bad happens.
Yeah.
You know, be present now, not when something bad happens.
Yeah.
Love the ones you love now, not when something bad happens. It's like we're always waiting for something bad to happen.
Yeah. And I just want to add on, you know, what you were saying earlier about the prayer and why I guess started doing it. There was one morning, it was a Friday morning, and Friday's like the holy day of the Muslims, and you know, like Christians have church Sunday, so we've got the mosque Friday. And so I intended on going to the mosque that day. I woke up late, so I missed the morning prayer. 2 things happened. I missed my prayer, late for work. What do I do first now? I was a mess that morning. I started work at 8. I woke up at 8:15.
Oh wow!
Right, so by the time I get ready, have breakfast, like
you're late. I'm
done. Whole morning's gone. So I skipped the prayer that morning. I normally take the train to work. I drove that day. get in my car, I'm driving, halfway to work, my car needs petrol. I'm like, man, what else could go wrong today? Shouldn't have said that. Pulled over, filled up my car, went to pay, forgot my wallet at home. Forgot my wallet at home. And now, I don't know if you've ever done that, but they expect you to either leave something valuable or you leave your car there, bro. Go home and get your wallet. Right?
So what did you do, leave your phone?
I had to leave my laptop. I needed my phone for work. My laptop is it's like going to work with no pants on now, right? So I left my laptop, I jumped back in my car, drove to work, and I realized, where am I going to park my car with no money?
Wow.
So I thought, all right, I'm going to go upstairs, I'm going to speak to some of my colleagues, maybe borrow some money, I'll pay them back tomorrow, buy them a coffee, whatever. And because I don't usually drive for work, you know, the 2-hour parking sign, I thought I just have to top it up every 2 hours. I didn't move my car. I had a job interview that day. Went in the interview, come out, I got a parking fine, Alex. Tell me what else could go wrong that day.
You reckon it's coincidence?
I don't know, mate, but I never missed a Friday prayer morning prayer after that. So I woke up, I ended up going through that interview. I went to the Friday prayer, and I don't know, for the first time, I actually lifted up my hands and made a prayer. And I just said, look, man, like this is how I talk to God. Like, look, man, today.
No, it's funny. That's what I do. I said, look, man, give me something. Talk to me.
Today was a bad day, bro. I don't know what you're doing,
Yeah.
but just show me that you're on my side, man. Do something for me. You know, in that interview that I had that same night, I got the job.
That's incredible.
8 people were interviewed. I was the first of the 8, the youngest of the 8, the least experienced of the 8, but the most driven, and they gave me the job.
It's amazing.
And so, you know, after that, I was like, all right, that was my first real kind of spark or connection that I had with God. And it was kind of like everything that it teaches, I align with, I believe it, I value it. And, you know, it just works for me. It made me a better person. What else could I say? You know,
that's exactly right. What else
it's become a part of my day now. I go for job interviews now. Like my current job, the first thing they ask me, do you have any concerns, any questions, anything that you need?
And that's the first thing you explain.
Do we need to accommodate? I said, listen, I'm a Muslim, Friday afternoon, I need 1 hour off. If you're giving me a 30-minute lunch, I need an hour. I'll work the extra 30 minutes. But because I've made that a priority, most employees value that.
100%, and they see that it's a must for you.
Most employees value that. And if they can't accommodate,
it's not the right place for you to
don't
work.
give me the job, mate.
It's not the right place.
I can't live my life with the values I have in this workplace.
I think that's powerful. I think, like, take away the religious side of everything we're just saying. I think what's most powerful is knowing who you are, what you want, and how you want to do life. And then everyone else can kind of fit that mold around you. Because if you let other people dictate your life, you're not gonna live it the way you want to live it. And then things that are important to you end up getting thrown out because you end up living the way they want you to live.
Something that following the religion allowed me to do that I never did before was set boundaries, right?
Do you think boundaries can be a problem too, though, or you think it depends?
I'm talking about setting boundaries and guidelines in terms of how you live your life and how you follow your day-to-day.
So it's almost like a blueprint in
who you let in your life, who you associate with, who you talk to, where you spend your money, right?
So it's like a way of life.
It's a way of life, and it allowed me to do that, you know. And for me, what's the word? To disassociate yourself, is that a word?
Yeah.
I disassociated myself with the wrong people. The clubbing scene I was in for 4 years, gone. I left it. Changed my life. I'm not perfect. There are still things I do that I shouldn't do. There are still things that...
That's the human element.
That is human.
That is the human element.
We all do things we shouldn't do, right? But that blueprint, that guideline, I follow.
Your recipe, the way you do life.
And that, for me, that helped me become who I am today, where I am. You know, I owe it to God. And honestly, I say this in full confidence. I would not be where I am today if I didn't find that level of spirituality, because I didn't live with discipline before. And the discipline, it's kind of like dieting, right? You will have a cheat day. I don't have cheat days when it comes to my discipline, right? I might sneak in a burger here and there. We did that last night. But I'm talking about following that blueprint. There's no cheat days for me, man.
And do you think for other people, let's take, again, release out of this the other aspects, let's say, you know, trying to change their body or trying to get a career. Do you reckon too many people have cheat days? Do you reckon that's why they might not be getting the results they want? They're having too many cheat days?
Look.
So with the gym session, cheat day, they might miss too many gym sessions.
I recently started training. I don't know if you could tell.
Yeah, you look pretty good.
I recently started training, and something the approach I've taken is I was one of those people that I would start and then stop and then start and then stop, and then I'd go 3 years without, and then I'd start and then stop again, right? So what I did this time was I said, I'm going to start and I'm not going to stop, even if
You stuff up.
I'm going to sneak a burger in, I'm going to have some ice cream, I'm not going to go to the gym tomorrow, but I'm still going to show up the next day. I'm still going to try and, you know, push myself and just don't stop. Just show up. I walk into the gym some days, like, why the hell am I here, man?
Have you seen the difference in results by doing that?
Yeah, dude. Because not even just physically, like physically I can't tell the
performance,
difference.
energy.
I feel good, man.
I feel better.
And I'm sharper.
Have you ever learned the stages of change model? Have you ever heard of the stages of change?
I did in business.
Yeah. Well,
but it's very different.
Yeah, so the stages of change, I find it very interesting. I take my clients through this. So the first stage is pre-contemplation. Is this the same one you went through?
No.
Alright, so stages of change is basically how someone goes from where they are to where they want to be, alright?
Yeah.
So the first stage is pre-contemplation. So pre-contemplation is you're not even aware that you want to change, need to change, or even want to change. No idea.
Yeah.
Alright? Next stage is contemplation. So now you're starting to realize that some things in your life are not working, that maybe you need to change. Alright? So I want you to picture like a bucket now and starting to fill up with water. You're starting to get that fill. Now the next stage is preparation. Alright? Basically the bucket's tipped, hit you on the head, and you've realized now you're contemplating, you need to make change.
I've got to do something.
I've got to do some, and now it's preparation. So who do I need to meet with to make these changes? So for example, if it's wanting to lose weight, I want to meet with a personal trainer.
Yeah.
So meet with a personal trainer, and you work out a game plan on how you can lose weight the most effective way.
Yeah.
Next stage is action. Putting the plan into action.
Implementing
it. All right? Then maintenance, continuing to do so. Now where people stuff up is there's one last stage of change, and it's lapse or relapse. Now there's a massive difference between a relapse and a lapse.
Run me through them.
A lapse is like a cheat meal. You have one cheat meal, but then your next meal's back on track.
Yeah.
You hit the gym still,
Yeah.
and you continue what you've been doing.
Yeah.
A relapse is you have one cheat meal, and it turns into going back to the person you were before you even started the journey.
Yeah.
And what happens, I see it so many times with my clients, they make one mistake, and they lose it.
Yeah.
Because they have this ideology that everything has to be perfect. I used to do this with video games. I used to, like FIFA,
Yeah.
I used to start like a new career mode, and the moment I lost, I wouldn't even allow myself to lose. I would turn the PS4 off before.
You don't want that loss on there.
I didn't want the loss on the record because I just felt like I couldn't continue.
Yeah.
And we do it in real life. It's like the
Yeah.
moment we make one mistake, it's like, that's it, man, what's the point?
Yeah.
But it's the mistake that you need to push through, the adversity that's gonna get the fountain of results.
I want to pull you up on something. I want you to bear witness on this. You did that just before
I did do that before.
with the video.
I did do that before.
So for the guys that are watching, we filmed.
I still do it now.
We filmed the first 3 or 4 minutes, and then we took a break, and then you wanted to delete the whole thing
I
and start
did,
again.
I did, and that's me still trying to.
I'm going to hold you accountable, Alex, and I'm going to play you in a game of FIFA. All right?
I'm going to smoke you.
I don't know. I'm pretty good.
I'm pretty good.
All right, you might beat me then.
Guys, the next video is going to start with a game of FIFA.
I'm one of those humble people. Are you any good at FIFA, bro? Nah.
Nah, I've never played it before. What? How do you even?
6-0.
What does X do?
How do you pass? What's that one
I
triangle?
don't know. Let's work it out.
All right, I like the way that this has gone. I think that we should summarize something.
Definitely.
Give me 3 takeaways that you want to leave the audience with. What are 3 things that you want them to remember from this chat?
All right. What do I want them to remember? I want them to remember that. We'll start with the one thing I just finished with, which is if you make a mistake, you have a lapse. You're not perfect. You are a human. That's what makes you a human.
Yeah.
Just don't turn it into a whole setback, Just come back from it and continue to move forward. So overcome that adversity. It's an obstacle, not a stop sign. So keep jumping the hurdles.
I like that.
Again, that depressive state that you are not depression. I am feeling depressed.
Yes.
You're not, I am depressed,
Yes.
okay? So
You're
if
Jack.
you're Jack. I'm Jack, all right? So if you're feeling a bit of depression, it's okay. Something's not wrong with you. And just try and do what you feel is necessary to start feeling good, okay?
Yeah.
And if you feel it's not getting better, then yes, definitely seek out some help and do the right things. What about you? I only gave 2 messages, but
Give me a third one. We're doing full 3.
third one, I think it's just back to being more present, to be honest. Just being grateful, not taking things for granted, and not waiting for something bad to happen to count your blessings.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
3 takeaways I want to leave everyone with would be the first one, a setback is beneficial for the comeback. It's that slingshot metaphor we spoke about. So, really utilize the outcome of that setback and kind of just acknowledge it and run with it. Enjoy it. right?
1 step back, 2 steps forward.
That's it. Craig David, you know what's it called? That 2 steps back, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. We're stepping forward, so constantly take that, you know, that setback and use it to your advantage. Use that pain to push you to greatness, right? The second point I probably want you guys to take away is that, you know, in this whole idea of depression, if you see someone that is going through that, because I saw that people came to me, were confident enough to speak to me about it. If you don't feel like you're equipped with enough knowledge on how to deal with that, seek out the right help.
Ask someone.
Go and speak to people. Don't help someone to get over it. I think probably, and I've spoken about this before actually on the previous podcast with Mark. People, they kind of minimize the effect that depression has on people.
They play it down.
They play it down, man. You can't belittle something like that.
You can't say get over it,
no.
And especially to a males, because I'm just talking from mine. Don't tell them to man up.
Yeah.
When you say a man to man up, man, it's like a kick in the in the gut.
Because now with everything they're already going through, you're telling them they're not man enough.
Exactly.
Right?
They're already feeling that way as it is.
Yeah.
And it's because we have this false identity of what a man is.
Yeah.
Which I think that'd be great to talk about next time. What is a man?
Podcast.
You know, what is our role as a man?
Yeah. And then the third thing to take away, man, is to find whatever grounds you. Religion, spirituality, karma,
law of attraction,
the
whatever
universe,
whatever
you know,
metaphor you want to use.
Whatever it is. Find whatever grounds you, man, and utilize that. We live in a world where everything is moving so fast, we forget our little piece of the puzzle here. When I say we forget our little piece of the puzzle, we forget where we play a part. Who you are to be in the next 5-10 years is based on what you're doing right now. If you're just going with the motion, you'll still be going with it in 10 years.
Plant the seeds now to
plant the seeds, man, so you can reap that reward. So that's my 3 key takeaways. As always, man, if you've got any questions regarding anything, shoot. You know, me, Alex, I'll put our Instagram handles in the links below. Check out the description below for you know,
what we're doing next.
All the potential videos that we'll be making in the future. We've got some big plans together, man. So
it's coming.
If you've enjoyed this episode, like, share, subscribe. As always, we'll be pulling little video clips out from this and sharing with everyone.
Just pay it forward.
What is up, guys? This is about take 75 of this little short clip we wanted to put out. We've just filmed a really cool episode 2 of our podcast that we just created last week unknowingly. Today we spoke about depression, anxiety, overcoming adversity, spirituality and staying grounded. We've put a lot of really cool content out there for you guys, a lot of value to bring you. Like, share and subscribe it, and if you've got any questions, shoot away and let us know.